Hi everybody and big welcome to a cEDH card review and even something of a deck tech video for Omnath, locus of all, 5-color commander. So I know that I don't often talk about design and lore and like the flavor and things, but I gotta say I actually really like how they made this new commander. If we kind of look at Omnath's kind of development, we have Omnath Locus of Creation, everything but black, but then Phyrexia comes there, which is kind of a black thing, Phyrexia, and just inserts the black mana into the 4-color Omnath Elemental and transforms it into a very good question of what that honestly is. A metallic black I don't know. But if we look at like the card design, I mean it has Phyrexia and black mana in it, that's a cool aesthetic thing to it. But also if you look at the first ability, if you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes black mana instead, which is staying true to the original mono green Omnath Locus of Mana. So I really like that, like it's a 5-color version of its original development. But then things start to differ. At the beginning of your pre-command main phase, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card if it has 3 or more colored mana symbols in its mana cost. If you do, add 3 mana in any combination of its colors and put it into your hand. And then if you don't reveal it, put it into your hand. And this is staying a little bit true to the Omnath Locus of Creation that is generating mana as well. So the first thing that comes to people's mind, I guess, are charms. 3 different color spells. There's a whole bunch of different variations of those out there. And the idea is that you would have a really high density of those, that when you take your turn, you would flip one of these, generate 3 mana of those colors, and draw the card. And that would be great. You would theoretically cast Naya Charm for free from the top of your library. That's good. But in all honesty, it's actually really bad. Don't do that. And here's where people will say that Omnath Locus of All is basically a casual commander, really bad. And in that sense, I would agree. However, there's something you're missing. If we read the absolute bottom here, if you don't reveal it, put it into your hand. You still draw the card no matter what. You only gain the mana if it actually has 3 different color pips in it. But once again, you still draw the card and you still bank mana. There are actually 2 really cool spells that you could flip into with Omnath, Necropotence and Peer into the Abyss, that have 3 colored pips in their cost. So with this you could basically flip Necropotence, gain 3 black mana and cast Necropotence basically for free. But you could also just Vamp Tutor, Mystical Tutor, or well, Brainstorm would work too, to get Peer onto the top of your library to help you ritual out that Peer and win the game by drawing your entire deck. But Omnath Locus of All could also just sit there and bank black mana until you basically just cast it without tapping any of your mana sources whatsoever, to keep your mana sources at the ready to counterspell and protect Peer when you're trying to resolve it. So we actually have a few things going for it here already. However, I do know that some of you are gonna say that Tymna would be better, basically. This 1 less color but stronger commanders, better card draw, definitely better card draw. And some might say that Rograk Silius is also just better. They are doing the same thing but faster. Ad Nauseam and ritualing out Peer into the Abyss is quite easy with a free to cast commander Rograk. But the deck that I'm strategizing here is a 5-color good stuff deck, working on a completely different axis compared to those commanders I already showed you. You see, the real commander I'm thinking about here is actually Rhystic Study. I talked about this before in a previous video about the cEDH metagame, where I basically said that Rhystic Study is gonna be the metagame of the format, and I think this is a great commander for that potential strategy. Don't look at Omnath as a awesome commander, look at it as an access to all 5 colors and just having a really good commander option if you have nothing else to do basically with your mana. I mean, sometimes you get into games where your 99 doesn't do anything more and you need to just spend your mana on something, and then like a 4 mana cost, I wanna say also that this is a 4 mana cost, pay to life, 4/4 that draws a card at the beginning of your turn and banks black mana. In general, that is just good. So if we compare this to its actual opponent, which is Kenrith the Returned King, also just in general a good 5-color identity, good stuff commander that could basically build any deck. Both of these two commanders could basically go for the Rhystic Study game plan, where Rhystic Study is the commander. Now the question is just, which one is better, Kenrith or Omnath? Now a lot of you are gonna say Kenrith obviously here, but I would fight a tiny bit for Omnath too. You see, to gain value from Kenrith, you actually have to pay mana into him. You just need to pay 4 mana, one of each color except for black, to get your Omnath into play and draw an extra card on every one of your turns. Like, that's it. It's a very small commitment. Compared to Kenrith, the Return King, you have to pay 5 mana first, and then something like 4 mana again. So it's a total of 9 mana to draw the first card, and then you sit and need to pay 4 more mana for every single one afterwards too. Now sure, Kenrith can do a lot of cool things like in the longer game, like reanimating creatures and such. But cEDH is a really fast-paced format. And I've found that it's very rare that you get to sit there and just activate Kenrith in general. Some games you actually do, but in a lot of games you never really cast him. Okay, well, it kinda depends on the deck in general. But here, let me show you this thing. This is my Niv-Mizzet Reborn 5-color good stuff deck. This is basically just a breach deck. We have Vamp Tutor, we have Consult, Sevin's Reclamation, Thassa's Oracle, Dockside, Underworld Breach, and Rhystic Study. Now the real commander for this deck is Rhystic Study. The game plan is basically to get Rhystic Study into play turn 1 or turn 2, mulligan towards that Rhystic Study, and then just draw cards until you get your Underworld Breach into play or the Thassa's Consult. And Niv-Mizzet basically just sits here to give me access to 5-color identities, and well, sometimes I have nothing better to do, so just cast a Niv-Mizzet Reborn. This is the same exact identical ID Kenrith, the Return King, as a 5-color good stuff commander. We have the Thassa's Oracle, we have Sevin's, Consult, Tainted Pack, Vamp Tutor, Underworld Breach. Yeah, there you go, same ID. Get Rhystic Study into play, turn 1 or turn 2, sit there and draw cards with Rhystic Study, or well, Cinema Library could be mentioned here as well, I guess, and then eventually win with Underworld Breach or Thassa's Consult. But Kenrith is basically here to give access to 5-color identities and be a commander we could cast if we have nothing else to do, basically. And that's my idea behind Omnath, locus of all. Be that 5-color identity, Rhystic Study, commander, like Rhystic Study in the 99, basically being the secret commander, mulligan until you have a Rhystic Study turn 1 or turn 2, and then if you have like nothing else better to do, you could spend 4 mana into an Omnath and continue to dig through your deck with some card draw from that thing. But once again, if everything is going according to plan, if the deck just plays out the way it should, then you're never really casting Omnath. It's just something you cast if like the game goes in a different direction compared to your original game plan. And this is where I actually think that Omnath have a stronger edge compared to Tymna and Chrom. Because yeah, I absolutely agree that Tymna and Chrom have better card draw than Omnath, but here you're gaining access to green. Now, who really cares, like, green? We don't need green. But honestly, green have some upsides to it, like it will help the 99 if you have access to green. Imagine blue farm with access to green. That would in the end actually help blue farm a bit. And there are games where you actually never cast these commanders, you just have a much better game plan. Sometimes you're getting Rhystic Study into play turn 1 or turn 2 with these commanders as well, and you never really spend mana into the commanders because you're not really on that game plan. Blue farm is playing a really good game plan without the commanders as well, so to say. But if you're sitting in that kind of game plan, wouldn't it be better if you had green as well? One thing you could do is to literally take the exact list of blue farm or whatever strange deck you could think of and just add the colors green in this example and add Omnath as the commander. Elvish Spirit Guide would be great here for this commander pair, the blue farm deck that is lacking green. I would argue that Tinderwall would also be great, a really good green ritual. Mana Morpheus is absolutely amazing. Ritual might be one of the best green things you could think of. This is a board wipe and a ritual all in one. Like, there's a lot of games you go up against stacks opponents, cards that are making it impossible for you to play the game, and this is like one big spell to solve that problem, but also gaining mana at the process at the same time. Abrupt Decay is a really good green, or black as well, but green spot removal that can't be countered. Veil of Summer is absolutely amazing, great in counter wars when you wanna win the counter war and win with your cool combo. like a silence, a green version of silence. Carpet of Flowers is actually a fast mana ritual sometimes, like if someone has islands in play to a higher count, you cast this in your first main phase, go to the second main phase and generate mana, so here's a green ritual for you. So in the end, blue farm to Macram could benefit from green, but it also kinda depends on how you wanna build the deck, so to say. And once again, this is where I think this is actually quite good, like you can build this in so many different variations. Like the main core strategy is something the 99 wanna do, which could be anything. And then this is just a supplement, like this is just a good generic commander in general that will give you once again access to 5 color identities. That's great, but do something amazing, or amazing is a strong word here, but do something good in the process as well. You see, the truth is that commanders are cool and good and such, and that's the format we're playing, but the 99 is so strong that sometimes you don't really need your commander. And if you have a deck that don't really need your commander, you might as well just go 5 color identities, like there are no reason to play only 3 if you could play 5. And I just think this is an amazing contender to be that 5 color identity commander. So in the making of this video, I wasn't able to create a deck list because the new commander isn't available on Moxfield. Or well, it wasn't available when this video, basically now when I'm making this video, but it might be when you're watching this video. But I want to talk a tiny bit about this deck in general. It's actually called Kenrith Cantrip Control, which is gonna be a link in the description below the video. Also will link the Niv Mizzet 5 color reborn decklist as well, which is something similar to this, but more tweaked towards multicolored. But the core strategy is to basically control your opponents while drawing cards in the process, which means that we have a really good card draw capability from the deck in general, from various instances that basically cantrip, eventually filling your graveyard with a huge count until you can win the game with something of a breach combo. Undual Breach is basically a 1-card combo in this deck. You just need to fuel your graveyard with a bunch of cards and then just get a tutor, preferably demonic tutor, to the bin and then win. The core strategy of the deck is to get that Rhystic Study into play early in the game and mulligan until you have that Rhystic Study, but well, you have some cantrip control cards as a supplement to that as well. But also we play the free to cast Force of Negation, Force of Will and such to basically be able to tap out but still interact. But we could easily swap out a lot of things here and just change it more towards the Peer into the Abyss and a Necropotence style as well. Just because the fact that you could Vamp, Tutor, Peer or Necro to the top of your library and then basically cast it for free with your commander. But in the end there will be a deck list in the description below of the video once I've put it together, being able to put it together. It is not going to take over the format, it's not going to be the all-star commander in the world, but it's definitely gonna see play here and there for various different deck reasons. As I think a lot of people just wanna play 5 color with their own personal kind of ID, because I actually think that you could build this with so many different variations, as there are so many different cool 99s that could be constructed towards a specific game plan, where this is just like the commander to make that happen, the 5 color identity that you need. In the end, it's just a decent card in general, and I gotta say I really like it. I'm really happy they stayed to something of the cool Omnath design with a Phyrexian tweak to it, but also that it's actually doing something good, like something that could be utilized. Like it's not making tokens, it's not dealing random damage, it's not putting +1/+1 counters somewhere, it's just drawing cards and banking mana, saving mana and converting it into black mana. So happy about to see this. That's it for this little card review and something of a small deck tech video. Thank you so much for watching and take care, and I'll see you in the next video. More card reviews are gonna come up, as we've seen a few new cards for Phyrexia Commander All Will Be One.